Welcome to our podcast, Accidentally Actualized. So, in this podcast, with me and Mindy are going to tell our story about how we discovered we're actualized. Well, at least we believe we are. Self actualization comes from Abraham Maslow. I'm not here to give you a psychology lecture. That's not what we're doing at all. It is psychology, but we're not talking about the textbook itself per se. But we do and will use certain parts like his triangle of actualization or pyramid of actualization, and we'll basically cover about 15 of the main points. So there is a few more than that, but we're kind of focusing on 15 points.
Maslow actually coined the hierarchy of needs, and the theory was based on the fact that psychological health or to become a fulfilled human, you needed to achieve these stages of needs. So he saw self actualization as the pinnacle of meeting your needs, both physically, emotionally, and psychologically, so you could live a fulfilled life. So the two bottom ones are basically your basic needs, like your safety, your shelter, your physiological needs like food and water, things like that, keep you safe from harm. So those things that basically keep us alive. The third one is social groups. So more like your village, your connection, your role in society, your family, how you assimilate with others and how you see yourself in a social situation. The fourth one is esteem. So this one, a lot of people do struggle to get to this one even, and this is where you have the self-esteem to know your role in the world. So that would be things like you acknowledge your own abilities and you are kind of accepted by your peers and you have something important to offer the world, and just those things that us as humans do that are unique to each other that provide that kind of awareness and kind of joy, internal joy, that we know that we're contributing to a greater system or a greater good. And then the pinnacle of it is self actualization. And that is where you find this kind of inner peace and this fulfillment where you're able to live a life more on your terms because all your other needs are met. And it gives you that kind of spiritual wholeness, that emotional wholeness, and that ability to live a life on your terms.
And I think looking at the pyramid, um, the kind of basics at the bottom, like I'm not going to go sidetracked too early, but I also don't think that's 100. Like in my head, I'm not 100% with the bottom ones, just for the fact that it sort of sounds a bit first worldy to me. Like when the way it comes across is you couldn't be self actualized unless you basically have a fair bit of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not
So,
everyone has the privilege of having housing and stuff,
but then I guess it's
but some of
what
the biggest gurus,
But then I guess
live in a cave.
what are you? But the cave might be enough for shelter for that
I
person.
suppose. I
So
suppose.
it's basic needs. It's like your needs are being met. You do have shelter from the cold. It might not be as elaborate as Western culture, but
Yeah.
you have your needs met. So even in a travel situation, you could still become self actualized because you may have not as many of those distractions of accumulation that we have in the West as well.
Yes.
So you may be more focused on you've got your village support, you've got your hierarchy with your role in your tribe, you've got your needs are met because you all work together to gather food. And,
Yeah.
so you might actually find that that's the simpler way of living. You achieve it faster. Whereas here in our world, it's very complex to find a means to make a living, to be able to achieve that shelter, to be able to achieve those bills being paid, to be able to get
Yeah.
those needs met, and socially very hard as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that what he was kind of saying was that it depends. Like we have this idea of primitive versus first world
Yeah.
type
Pretty
thing,
much. Yeah.
but you can still have your needs met on a basic
Yeah.
level.
Totally. Totally.
So that's
Yeah.
my theory on it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just kind of comes across a little bit like that. But anyway,
But
it's
you could
just an
interpret it
opinion.
that way if you wanted to. But I think that in all societies, yes, you're going to have more of an advantage if you have those needs met from birth. Like if you're born into a
Absolutely.
developed country and
Absolutely.
you live in middle class and you've got, you know,
Yeah, hunting and gathering
access.
takes a lot of time.
It does.
But
It does.
also you can be very in your head when you're doing those kind of
Yes.
jobs.
You're not
And
thinking,
that's half of
yes.
his thing that we'll get into later,
Yes.
is that half the things he talks about is kind of just experiencing the moment a lot. Like you could be folding, washing,
Mm.
doing the dishes,
Yes.
hunting and gathering.
Yes.
And that's where you get to notice the universe around you and how you're playing in it, and you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm not totally dishing the idea that
No,
it's
no,
better.
no.
It
I'm
just
just
kind of
giving a
comes across like
perspective.
that a little bit, like just, you know, from what I've seen and read and
See,
whatever.
I feel a bit differently about it because I even watching like tribal communities in say Africa where the women go together to gather water, for instance. They go in a group.
Yeah,
They're very supportive of each other. They have a chat along the way. They're like, you know, kind of enjoying their walk together. They make it a activity that's a little bit more rewarding than it would seem.
yeah,
You know, they seem quite content in their task. I mean, they know they've got to do it, but I
yeah.
think they
Well,
make
you
the
don't.
most out of it. And that's the difference with self-actualization, is that those mundane tasks that we have to do on the bottom four hierarchies, if you have a continued freshness of appreciation, which we'll get to, it kind of helps you to see it a bit differently. So I think when you've got all the distractions that we have in the West, there's so much that we are,
You miss out.
yeah, because we're
Missing the
too
good bits.
bothered by having more, because what is enough,
Yeah,
do you
well,
know?
there isn't any.
And your basic
Constant.
needs really are shelter, food, water, and, you know, community.
Yeah, which in the first world is less.
It's
Like
less
social
community.
groups being number 3.
That's harder.
Like that one's heaps harder. Second world, you'd be easy. There's a village.
Yes.
You know, you can bounce
Yes.
off people. People care about you. And in
Yeah.
first world, it's dog eat dog these days.
Yeah, it really
Capitalism,
is.
dog eat dog. So
So
and you're not going to become very actualized by treating the world like that.
No.
And, it won't work out for you in the end either. So
and it's also hard to find your esteem because you're in a sea of people that are all chasing kind of the similar thing, you know, the property ownership and corporate, you know,
well, esteem's
goals. And
slightly different to ego.
it
I
is
think.
very
So,
different. Very.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're like expecting like number 4 on the pyramid to be ego, I don't think that's
You'll
not gonna
achieve
work.
esteem, yeah.
Yeah. So you need an ego, surely.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's how it works. But I think esteem sums it up better.
Yes.
That it's a bit more knowing your place,
like your
not just
self-worth.
kind of throwing yourself all over people, telling them you're really good when you're not.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
basically bullshitting everyone. It's
And having the courage to pursue those things that you
Yeah,
feel aligned
ignoring
with.
doubters or whatever.
Yeah.
When ego, to me, most people's ego follow the crowd. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's how you get an ego.
Yeah.
Everyone praises you then. Oh, look, he's
Yeah.
a millionaire. Wow.
Yeah, you've got the white picket
But
fence. You're okay.
Esteem
Yeah.
is like, to me, you have more gratitude and aware not to do damage
Yeah.
to get to the top of whatever you're trying to do.
And it's knowing
you know,
that what your limits are too.
Responsibility
Yeah.
for ego, not
Yeah.
just being annoying.
And so I think that, yeah, if you look at it from the perspective of it's hard for us to know what it would be like to be raised in a developing world because we've always had so much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of our food, we can go to the shops and just buy it. We've got water from the tap. You know, we've got all of those things just available to us.
Totally.
So it is very different. But there's also a lot of focus on shelter. There's a lot of focus on accumulation,
focus.
and that's a
Too
lot of
much.
people get stuck in those bottom two rungs, even in Western culture.
You know. But so I think this podcast, we're going to cover the 15 points in different sessions, and some of these even some sessions might be a little bit long, so we'll kind of have to, you know, cover them over different days. So if you're kind of interested in what we're going to delve into, because we're just summarizing the beginning of this, if it's something that might interest you, then throw in a subscribe. I don't really go around begging for those kind of things. It's more for you. If you want to be able to follow our gear, we're going to do our best to be putting things out on, like, say, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, Friday, Saturday night US time. So we're going to do our best to be more organized with our podcast now. So throw in a sub or a follow, whatever it is, ring the bell, all that kind of jazz. just to be able to know when we're coming on, because we also do lives. So we're not doing this live for obvious reasons. We're in a spa and we've got to get in and out and all the different stuff. So it's not possible. And I go too crazy. So there's also that. But yeah, at the end of the day, we're just going to run through the basics of the accidental coincidences of even finding that we were self-actualized, and we align to it. We'll put it that way. You know, each person would judge their own self-actualization, and again, if it's an ego, you're probably going to bullshit like you've got one, and you're in the crew. But the whole thing was a bit of synchronicity, because I was just scrolling around. I was looking for another topic, totally different topic, and yeah, a video came up, which it just was weird. Like, I just had to watch it. I just knew I had to watch it. Didn't look exciting. Guy's head on the screen. It was done 10 years ago, so it wasn't the latest thumbnail that every single person does on YouTube with the big fake photo crap. It was just his head standing there talking, and you know, it just interested me. So I don't know why. I just clicked on it, and the guy started yapping on about self-actualization and Abraham Maslow and that kind of thing. And you know, I don't really. Most psychologists I wouldn't actually listen to. I don't align very well with psychology as a whole. I don't really believe it all, you know, the jibber jab that's thrown out there. But some of it totally makes sense, and some of them are in the real world and not just trying to blame your parents, or you know, like you want to have sex with your parents all day long, all this kind of weird shit that they go on about. Like, I don't align to any of that. That to me is, that guy should be basically in jail if that's how his brain works. But anyway, that's, you know, my opinion. These apparently are geniuses, some of them. But anyway, you know, the coincidence of bumping into it, it wasn't amazing. Like, I'm not like, oh my God. It was just, this guy was describing me and Mindy. Like, he was standing there going, have you done this, that, this, that? And I'm like, we're ticking these boxes. This is really weird. Is this just an ego trip? Maybe I'm just, you know, tripping on myself thinking, oh yeah, I'm, you know, when half the people on the internet call me chopped and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, surely I can't be self-actualized. But it was amazing. So I think the thing you'll get the most out of this is you might find yourself to be in the same boat. Now, I always give my NPC speeches, but I'm not going to. I'll just mention that obviously not everyone's going to be self-actualized, and it's not for everyone. The world doesn't work like that. We do need differences. We need opposites. We need all that, and you should kind of embrace it instead of yelling at it all the time. But the self-actualization as a topic for this podcast series, it's probably going to take a fair few videos to get through. So we'll be, you know, kind of baby stepping it, because there's a lot to it. And I think the most amazing thing about it is that you might have more powers than you imagine. You might be more worldly than you suspect.
And on that note, check out our video that we did about 5 signs that you might actually be actualized, because that is a really interesting video too. There's a couple of points that I go through just explaining some of the things that might be happening in your life that might mean something to you as well. We're going to be sharing examples of the 15 points in our life that kind of make sense to us, that kind of resonate with actualization for us and what we do, so that we can give you clear examples of what we identify as being actualized and how we live our lives. So how it makes sense to us that this is who we are and how we're living. We haven't always been actualized.
No, absolutely not. And it's a struggle. It's not a, self-actualization isn't like, to be self-actualized probably means you've been through some shit.
Yes,
And you've
which
had to
you
work
should
shit
have.
out,
Most people
you know,
have,
so-
right?
And most of what we're talking about is, again, it's not a psychology lesson. It's personal stories, things we've been through that, again, you might align with. You might, you know where we're coming from, or just find it generally interesting, because me and Mindy aren't your normal, and being not your normal fits into the self-actualization categories. It's one that we will cover. We've never done anything that anyone told us to. We always pretty much did the opposite of what everyone expected. So, but that has rewards in its own way. It depends who you are and what you're doing, whether you'd even watch this kind of content, and that's not a drama at all. And, you know, we're not hippies, so it's going to take a while to get through this. But the main thing is, I'm definitely no hippie. I don't sit around reading psychology books and
I
touching and
don't know
feeling
if
other
hippies do
boys,
that.
talking shit, so, but at the same time, a lot of it will be very personal stories and of triumph and tragedies. And yeah, really, again, we're not claiming, we're not egotists. Like, we're literally not saying we're the best. We're, listen to us, we're the gurus, we know everything. Well, it's the opposite. Like, we learn from everyone else. That's how you get through things, obviously. But it's not how it comes across badly, is what I'm trying to say. And it's not how it is
But
at
being
all.
self-actualized, that brings us to the kind of the first one is a more efficient perception of reality and more comfortable relations with it. So that's one of the first characteristics that Maslow defined as being self-actualized. And so what that means, in my opinion, is that you can see things for what they are. So you have that more
You can see through the
realistic.
bullshit,
Yeah. Yeah.
basically.
And so that can be something that's learned, like with trust issues and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
But it's more to do with seeing when something's fake or when something's a facade and not a genuine kind of take on things. So you can see through that and
call it out.
call it out. Sometimes you
Always
need
call
to,
it out.
not always.
Not always. Sometimes you might end up
Yeah.
in
I think
the wrong
sometimes it's
situation.
just not worth your energy to
But even
always
internally call it out.
being
Aware,
Yeah, being aware.
being aware of the real reality, because
Mm.
I don't know. Again, I'm not going to rave on about NPCs and like, but at the same time, it's kind of like that. Like, there are a lot of people who choose, like, I'll give you the example of the nose on your face trick. You can't see your nose on your face. That's your perception of reality. Your brain is tricking you to delete the nose out of the frame because it's annoying. So that's the kind of power your brain has. And this happens automatically. But people's perception of reality also works that way. If you choose just to block everything out that's annoying or you don't like, you're no longer living in reality. And it's probably hard sometimes to live in reality and to face it. I get that. But,
Yeah.
but I think half the reason for all that is like the drug abuse that happens and everything else that happens is very focused around that. It's
Yeah.
very hard to accept reality, and because it's not the prettiest thing sometimes. But again, in the quieter moments, looking around yourself, being in the moment, like, that all sounds so hippie, but it's not. Like, it is true that the universe is an amazing, beautiful place, and to even be here is hundreds to the trillions to one.
So, as we get further into this podcast, Accidentally Actualized, we'll be talking about the 15 main characteristics of what Maslow defined as being self actualized. And to touch on the last podcast that we shared just before about introducing what accidentally actualized is, we discovered we were actualized through a video we watched, and we realized that self actualization actually fits the bill for us. So the first one that he defined as being self-actualized is having a more efficient perception of reality and being more comfortable in your relations with it. So what my perception of that is that self-actualized people can see through the bullshit. They can see a little bit more of the reality around them, and they're comfortable with their connections to that. They don't feel like they cannot cope with the reality that's around them, and no matter how uncomfortable it might be. So that doesn't always come naturally. That takes time to evolve. But when you realize what reality is and you sit in it and you understand it, it actually becomes you become more aware of how to live your life within that framework that you understand. So what's your perception of that one, Matt?
Yeah, so we're going to do just random stories to explain, say, each point. So, number one being the more efficient perception of reality and being able to basically deal with that. So, our stories, me and Mindy are the opposite where we grew up. And Mindy came from basically the Australian ghetto, and I came from the North Shore, which is like the wealthy people.
In Sydney.
Yeah, in Sydney.
Yeah.
So,
So the more wealthy
area of stuff, and so we're just going to share that story and the basics of it. Like, the reality of that to me would be that the North Shore was just so fake. There was nothing there drew me to it. The people nor any of it. The only nice part I liked were the views and nature and that side of it was pretty. But yeah, growing up in the North Shore for me, I actually struggled. I couldn't align with anyone. The only people I liked there were like 82-year-old ex-war veterans who spoke how it really was. They were pretty cool, but everyone else was lacking a lot, lacking truth or anything. But they twisted their reality. Like the North Shore was bizarre. The way people treat each other, the way they basically just play keeping up with the Joneses 24/7, and like anywhere, most of them couldn't afford it really anyway. So it's just there was such a load of bullshit in my head. Yet then Mindy lived on the other side of Sydney, on the west side.
In housing commission. So I grew up in Western Sydney. So there was a massive big housing commission area out Seven Hills area. So way out west. So it's fair far away. We're on opposite ends of the city, weren't we? So Western Sydney and housing commission, public housing in the 1980s. So my parents divorced when I was about 5. I was quite young. And my mum got herself into a little bit of trouble in terms of finances and got kind of caught up with people like drug users and things like that, and liked the party scene a bit too much. So we ended up in public housing, single mum, that type of thing. And I'm not dissing my mum. I don't have any hatred towards my mum, but the energy of growing up like that was struggle, and it was a life that I didn't align with, not because of the lack of money or the poverty and all of that stuff, but more the illusionary aspect of it is that people in those environments, there's a lot of mental health, there's a lot of drug use, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, criminal activity, things like that enables lying. And it was a very big part of my childhood. My mum struggled with compulsive lying. And so for me, as a somebody who really struggles with lying, as a child, I felt very misaligned with that. So it actually made me question my truth and my reality at the time. And I thought that I might be the odd one out because I could never accept these lies all the time.
But she believed her own bullshit.
And my mother
She
did
said
believe
so
much
the
of her
same
lies.
thing over and over until she believed her own
Yes.
lies. So that's the reality thing. This is what number one is
Her
all about.
perception was that she was believing what she was creating. But, and I'm not saying, I think perception is such an interesting concept, but when it's a reality, when you can see it for what it is, and it's being manufactured by somebody to try and almost preserve themselves, it was almost like it was like a self-preserving thing. But some of them are really,
But it's hard done by. It's the
yeah,
hard done
yeah, a
by.
lot of
I'm the victim.
victimizing. But a lot of it I can't understand. Like I can never, I'll never be able to understand some of them, because
So
some
was your
of
mum actualized?
no.
But she seemed pretty cool from the outside.
Yeah, if you
Very
weren't her
kinda spiritual,
child, yeah.
like party girl.
Yeah, and very
psychic
she did
and
tarot readings,
very
and
interesting woman.
She was,
She
and
was
she had
crazy,
gifts, and
crazy wild.
she was very intelligent in some ways too, but she just
victimized.
struggled with that the esteem part. She couldn't get past the esteem part.
Yeah, totally.
So really struggled with utilizing those tools for her
hanging around
own.
people she shouldn't.
Yes.
Knowing it. That's esteem.
Giving
But I would
lots of
never hang around
energy
people
to
like
that. And also the manufacturing of reality that it wasn't what it was, and just outwardly lying, saying I wasn't like that. And so my one of my biggest things that I really took from that was that every time she did that, everybody else watching in could see the lies, but she didn't realize that everybody knew she was lying. So it was like this really bizarre situation. So I'm somebody who likes to live in as much truth as possible. And I'm not saying that in a glorified way. I'm not saying that I'm 100% perfect all the time at being truthful, because I am human and I am flawed. But I do try in my life to really sit with the truth. Sometimes my reality might might shift, and I might see something from a perspective, or I might miss something and get it wrong, and that is okay. I'm comfortable with that, but I also am accountable. I try to be accountable for that. I know there's moments where we struggle with that too, but
Yeah.
being comfortable with your ability to accept that you sometimes don't see it, or you miss something, and you need to be accountable for that. That's another part of the efficient perception, I think,
Uh,
is looking within and going, I could have done that better, or I handled that in a way that wasn't,
yeah.
positive, or,
Yeah.
I did something that affected somebody else. That's accountability. And I think that comes into number one, is that efficient perception of reality, is that sometimes you do it too much. When you're self-actualized, you do go internally a little bit too much. And that is one of the parts you have to pull yourself out of a lot, is that
Analyzing reality too much.
analyzing everything
Yeah,
too much.
totally.
And then you end up with that over-analyzed, overwhelmed state.
Yeah, you'll like burn out for
Yeah.
days afterwards.
Yeah,
and
burnout's a
get
big
back to
one.
normal reality.
Burnout's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're like, oh wow, I've really gone over that about 25
Yeah.
times, and I think I've
And
got
no
it.
one else cares.
But no one
one
else actually cares.
No.
They're like, yeah, okay, yeah, you did yell at me that day, but
Yeah.
I'm actually over it days ago.
Yeah.
Thanks for going through that with me. But really, are you
Yeah.
beating yourself up still about that? You're like, well, yeah.
No. But that's the thing, like, doing a podcast, accidentally actualized, where it's
We got to
hard.
laugh at ourselves, though.
Totally.
And that's another one, is you've got to, in our family, we've raised our kids with humor, and I love seeing them grow up. Our kids are getting older now. Our youngest is nearly 12 and our eldest is 19. And what we see with them is that the ability, we all laugh at each other in a really funny way. We don't do it in a way that puts anybody down, but we will look at each other's kind of quirks and things that make us us, and we'll make fun of that, but in a really fun way, right? Like, so it'll be like jokes. My kids will make me laugh about things that I do all the time. Like, I'm very clumsy, I fall over a lot, so it'll all be like, oh mom, don't break your legs, and so silly stuff like that. And I just think it's great to be able to see the funny side of our flaws as well.
Absolutely.
You've got to be able to do that.
I think whatever reality you're in, you're dragging your kids up in that.
Yes.
So that's the trick, is like, to try to leave the place better than when you came, all that kind of jazz, where if you can break the cycle. So whatever we go through here, a lot of the stories are breaking the cycle.
Yeah.
Or changing reality, like we're talking about, the point number one. And again, we're not saying we're the best. We're not doing any of that. It's not actually ego. We sit in this spa saying all this stuff anyway.
Yeah, we talk like this to each other.
So this is what we do normally
so
for hours a day.
Yeah.
So to us, turning on a mic, we're just sharing. We're just turning up. We're just putting it out there.
Yeah.
So
we're sharing a part of ourselves.
That's it. So
and
some of them are quite personal over, but it's not a scary thing. It should create conversation.
Yes.
Because that's what we enjoy. It's being accidentally actualized, and then being, knowing it. For example, it's hard to find your group.
Yeah.
That's not the easiest thing to do. And a lot of the time putting different things out, like if we put our interests out there, we find like-minded people, which is not easy.
No, it's
because,
good.
Again, actualized people, you're pretty much, they don't need many other people.
No.
So that's kind of tricky. So
our social group is pretty much ourselves.
Yeah, pretty much.
And but also outside of that, it might be that we can go in and out of connecting with people, but not need that. You don't need that.
It's more for work or services.
It's not a need. Yeah. And so it is work or services, or you going into the community to do our shopping and connecting with the people at Woolies or whatever. Like that is it's a social thing.
Guides and
I do volunteer work and stuff, but not. But it's more for the the connection stuff. But it's giving back a little bit too.
Yeah.
But the efficient perception of reality to me is that you see it for what it is. Like in one of the examples I've got too is that knowing that dark energy exists, knowing that there are evil people out there. And that is a really hard reality to accept, but it is the truth.
That's one of the biggest denied because of the media and how it all
and a
works.
lot of people have never confronted it face to face.
They won't. It's just scary.
It is scary to
know
know
the people who run the world and to allow that to happen alone is scary. But everyone just kind of, and they look up to them. Really?
Yes.
Nothing.
And even in your families as well, like, it's knowing who is actually maybe not what they seem, or maybe not spiritually aligned, or maybe they do have some darkness in them, and accepting that, because you can't choose who's been
No.
put with you, and sometimes you have to accept that reality and make your decisions around that, not just for your own safety but for your own peace as well. And so that brings us to the whole situation of seeing the fake and seeing people's facades, because a lot of the time, they can be very good. It could be like the wolf in sheep's clothing type thing.
And we're not talking little fake. We're talking people living lives they
Yeah.
shouldn't be. People just doing crazy
And
shit.
bringing people through it.
Yes, and dragging everyone else down with them. So they made a really bad decision. So instead of fixing that problem, they make it worse by bunkering down with the problem.
Or being a victim about it.
Yeah. And then everyone else is involved and they don't see it because they're fake. They're just faking reality. But it affects everyone else.
It does.
No one's going to... When you fake reality, I can guarantee no one will tell you the truth.
No.
They're not going to come up to you and tell you how to fix your problems.
So you won't
because
see
you
it.
Can't accept reality.
No.
And you're not going to listen. You'll generally either get emotional or start, screaming at them or run away or whatever. But it's very, very hard to, talk to most people about reality and their reality. And when you can see it's so simple to fix...
Yeah.
Like, it might be hard work, but it's still simple solutions. Doesn't cost anything, So, but a lot of the time, like, the fakeness comes from because it does cost something.
Yeah.
A lot of people are attached to things because of materialism, like about money and, a lot of, say, like, relationships.
Yeah.
Are basically run like a financial business. They are in a business. And so you're pretty much all self-employed, as far as I see it, even if you work for the government.
And I think that's another thing with a relationship. That's a really good one to touch on, is the knowing in your marriage or in your partnership with somebody else, our perception of reality. Well, I'm going to speak for myself, I guess. I don't want to speak for you. But my perception is that I am me, Matt is Matt. We are here by choice together. We've chosen to be together. We
Flaws
have,
and all.
Yeah, we have though. We've chosen this.
See?
So, who's got who?
I'm just saying. I see it.
Yeah,
reality. I'm accepting reality.
Yeah. We do though.
Yeah, we do.
And the reality of that is that I'm not in control. I don't want to control anything that Matt does. I'm not. That's not my job.
Are mine.
And not even that. Like, you are your person. You have autonomy over who you are. And I want to...
Yeah, I don't want to change everyone.
I don't want to change you. I married you because you are you.
Yeah.
I don't want you to become another version of yourself that fits.
Well, I can't.
And but you shouldn't. But you shouldn't. But I'm just saying that as an example that I do see a lot in my client work, even, that people have this expectation that they're going to have a shift, or there's going to be a change when an event happens, or when they get established, or when, this person will become more evolved, or they'll have more. And I'm like, this person is the person. You can encourage them and support them. That's what your job is as a partner. That's
your minimum.
Is to encourage, support, and love them. And, discuss things. You be honest about what bothers you, of course, but not in a way that's attacking them as a person. Like, I would never say to Matt, I'm unhappy with who you are, because that's not reality for me. I love him as a person, no matter what he might show up as. Even on bad days, we all have them. We all show up grumpy sometimes. We all show up happier sometimes.
I'm a master at it.
I'm not saying that. I'm
such a dickhead.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we all have our weaknesses and the things that we struggle with. And
absolutely.
To me, in those moments, to almost kick someone while they're down, or they're struggling, or they're upset, is almost when you're their partner is not going to help things. I'm not saying to encourage behaviors that aren't good for them either, or for the family dynamic, but I'm saying not in the moment, because it doesn't actually fix anything. So my perception of reality in my relationship is that you never really know anybody 100%, because you can't get into their inner deeper world. And
everyone has secrets.
Yes, and deeper, dark things that they struggle with, and things they don't want to burden you with, and all of those things. Yeah. But you don't need to either. You don't need to. What do you need is to know that if you've got trust for that person, there should always be trust and there should always be love. And they're the two foundations at the end of the day.
Yeah, and in a reality that's not lying.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Don't lie to each other.
Yeah,
Big
do
time.
your best, and it's not always the easiest thing, but I think everything's training.
Yeah.
You know? Like when I was a kid, I was a rat bag, and I lied, and I got out of everything.
Yeah. And
Everything.
as you said, you were
I'm
quite
a
good at it.
master liar.
Yeah.
I am actually a master liar. That was what I was renowned for. I could get out of anything. So, like, that's where I came from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a lot of work to
cover it all.
To not.
Yeah.
You know. But what I did find about lying was what really fucks your reality up is that then you've got to process extra information you shouldn't have to, because you've got to recreate that event all the time.
See, I'm too forgetful
but
for
that's the problem with lying. Like
I'm too ADD.
For
I couldn't
example,
do
we're
it.
talking about your mum's reality.
Yes. Oh,
like,
she couldn't do it very well.
She didn't care if she got caught out.
I don't know.
Because it was so obvious.
I don't think she actually realised she was being caught out.
She would on to a next life.
Yeah, maybe.